Being a part of the Formative Assessment PLC has really helped me grow professionally as a teacher.
It's really interactive, and you can correct everybody's mistakes around you because we all sit near each other.
Really get a sense of where kids are from minute to minute, class to class, instead of waiting for them to take a quiz or a test to see what the end result is.
Yeah, it's fun because it's interactive. Like, we're not just sitting there and he's just talking. We actually get to do things.
Anytime they've gotten a grade less than an 80 on their different activities for this circle meeting, they have to go back and redo it until they get it up to an 80.
Using various classroom techniques from the formative assessment model, a group of middle school teachers from the Hatboro-Horsham School District adapted their teaching strategy to align with this new method of assessment. This video highlights 5 key learning strategies and feedback from both students and their instructors who assessed them. Here's a peek into formative assessment.
Please come up here and start working on those 2 problems. Would you 4 please come over here and work on these problems? Thanks.
Keith Valley Middle School math teacher Jim Sullivan divided his math class into 4 groups. One group solved the problem together at the blackboard. Another group used whiteboards to write their answers individually, then held up their answers, giving instant feedback to Jim on who got it right or who got it wrong. A third group of students gave Jim instant feedback by using color-coded discs.
Green means that they totally understand it, and so they are in a position where they feel like they can teach it to somebody. Yellow is indicating that they got it, but they want someone to make sure that they're doing it right. And then red is, can you come on over and help me because I'm not getting this at all.
So since I'm subtracting these, this will be 0?
Yes.
In the 4th station, students who did well on a recent quiz tutored classmates who may have struggled on the quiz.
We got our blank quizzes back. We just got like a blank quiz and we worked with our mistakes. And I thought it was weird at first, but the more we did it, the more it made sense, and the more I started to like it.
So the key part for me anyway about having the kids work in different groups, with different combinations, a big piece of what I pulled out of the formative assessments is that kids hear the language of other kids very well. That kids can be effective as teachers with their peers. Formative assessment lets you know how they're doing on a day-to-day basis so that you can make adjustments as a teacher so that you can make sure all the kids are getting and understanding the material.
When I call your name, I'm going to tell you what number group you are, and you're going to meet with your jigsaw group. So I gave the kids a choice as to which novel they read, which they were really excited about. So that provided some engagement. And then my goal was for them to understand a book well enough, to analyze a character well enough, to be able to teach it to another student.
Theresa's formative assessment strategy is called Jigsaw. Each student assigned in a 4-person group was required to read a book and discuss it with other students within their group.
He doesn't want help and he doesn't want anyone to be his friend.
So he doesn't. So Mr. Weed's homeless and he has a post-traumatic stress disorder. Was he in Vietnam?
Yes.
Alright, see. So you're like talking to everyone else about it, so instead of just like going over it as a class and just like doing worksheets all alone, you're like interacting with everyone and asking like each other questions, and it's a lot more helpful for like later on.
I'll get an idea of what their book is like, and we're actually going to have a test, and I'm going to get questions from different books. So it's kind of like good that we're having this jigsaw group so that I will know more about their book so I can get the answers.
It's also formative for me to see what the kids have learned and what they're sharing and what I still need them to pick up from the book before we finish with the unit. So we did the thumbs up, thumbs down, which is kind of a check for understanding at different points also. So that way I can kind of form my next move with the lesson as far as what do I still need them to get from these books before I feel like the unit's complete. The goal with this particular assignment was to analyze the way that it was written, analyze the author's use of characterization, analyze the author's plot development. So my goal is for them to come out of this with greater analysis skills where they're examining literature for deeper meaning and not just reading the words, reporting back facts and forgetting about it. So I really wanted them to go in depth as to why certain characters do what they do. So now it's flipped.
Now is turn to your partner and share with each other what you think you should have accomplished, what you did accomplish, and decide how you're going to accomplish your goals tomorrow together.
Science teacher Jamie Ginsberg used formative assessment strategies that allowed her students to take charge of their learning by collaborating with classmates for a podcast project.
Today in class, we were working on script writing for a podcast project that we're doing. I had them watch 2 projects and decide which one was the exemplar and the reasons why on their own they believed that it was the exemplar. And we used that to create scripts that were more creative and innovative and included all the information that they needed. So you're going to individually fill out your exit ticket right now, and then we're going to share with each other and set goals for tomorrow so you know exactly what you need to do to have everything accomplished for your project.
Another formative assessment technique is the use of exit tickets. Jamie was able to obtain feedback from her students about the podcast assignment. This technique is another way for Jamie to adjust her teaching strategy.
I think of things differently every time I plan a lesson now, trying to figure out ways in which I can decide and see how the students are learning, how their learning is moving forward, and how they understand each topic so that I can reteach and reformulate lessons as I need to.
I like going over entrance and exit tickets sometimes with my friends better than with the teacher because it helps me understand sometimes better than what the teacher says.
Having the kids form goals and work with their partners and talk to each other is a way in which they can take charge of their learning, and that's the best part of formative assessment.
What this asks you to do is rate your learning.
Language arts teacher Nancylynn Sicilia used a formative assessment technique called mastery marking to help her students correctly complete a final paper.
The options are to get a 0 for not reaching the standard, or a 20, for me it was 20 out of 20 to reach the standard. And the mastery marking is basically to get all of the kids to close that achievement gap and get all of the kids at the same place.
I knew that I had a few chances to get the highest standard. So when I looked at my paper, I knew that if I don't get this time, I can get next time. And if I don't get next time, I have one more chance to make it right. And knowing that either I could get the lowest grade or the highest grade really pushed me because I knew I wanted the highest grade and I wanted to make my teacher proud.
This all or nothing method under mastery marking may sound harsh, but students are given multiple opportunities to achieve the standard for their grade. The point is to achieve the same standard for every student.
It was great for me because with teaching writing, I do a lot of individual feedback, and it was a way for me to get them all in the same playing field. So if they had to make 10 revisions or 2 revisions, by the end of the process, they all reached that same standard that you want the kids to be by the end of 7th grade.
It really helped me get a better grade on the paper than I would have if I didn't have to keep taking those same revisions.
I had a lot of revisions to make with the citations, and I really wanted to do good on this project because this project was helping to decide if I got into advanced language arts or not. So that really helped.
You really have to individualize writing in 7th grade. They're not all going to be the same. It's a way to get them all at the same place skill-wise before they leave.
Language arts teacher Lora Davis used the formative assessment technique of self-evaluation for an essay her students wrote.
So I gave it back with comments, but no grade. So they had to read the comments. I gave them the rubric that they were assessed with, and they had to evaluate their work one more time, and then we conferenced with my rubric and with their completed rubric. So if I had handed it back with a grade, would you have really figured out that my weakest area, I remember for you, was actually your mechanics and not your tech?
Probably not as much as I did by scoring myself.
Okay, all right. And how about you, Danny?
Me is sort of the same. I saw how much I needed to focus on for next time for when we do our next research essay or any essay, what part I should focus on the most.
There are many ways in which Hatboro-Horsham students were evaluated through the techniques of formative assessment. This relatively new assessment method gets a thumbs up from both students and teachers.
I think a lot of the fun things, and maybe some of the things you've seen already today, were those quick response systems, whether it was the whiteboards, thumbs up, thumbs down. It's a real quick way to see where the kids are at in the middle of your lesson, at any time during the lesson. And the kids had told me that students like to see, where others are too. Not only am I seeing where they're at, but they like to see how they're faring with the other students.
It actually made my grade really good, and I got a good grade on it, and I was happy about it.
I liked getting in groups and sharing about our book instead of just the whole class talking about it at once. I liked learning from different people.
We have an activity where we have to generate a random letter, and then you have to give some feedback, and your response has to begin with that letter. It's another fun way to do it. Or if I'm just using it for students' names, if I select a name, it randomly selects. Kids love that. It engages them. It gets their attention.
I understand most of what he teaches because it's easy ways. It's not too complicated on the exit tickets. It's just a straightforward, do the problem, hand it in, see how you did, and then you can improve on it from there.
I would encourage anyone who has an opportunity to get involved with formative assessments to really give it a shot, because it doesn't sound like it's very interesting, but the professional growth that's come out of it, working with my colleagues over this last school year, has been outstanding. It's probably one of the best things I've done as an educator for the last 30 years.